G'day trendsetters, I'm John with Gravel Cyclist, joined by Tuesday the dog, my little companion, coming to you today with a long-term review of the Berria Belador Allroad. Before I get into the nitty-gritty tech part of the video review here, first some company history about the Berria brand. Berria was founded back in 2012 by two brothers, Jose and David Vittoria. Forgive me for any mispronunciations with those names. The Vittoria family has been associated with cycling for a very long time. In fact, Davide was a former professional with the BMC Racing team and the Phonak Racing team. You can learn more about the Berria brand and their extensive range of bikes at the berriabikes.com website. Now, onto the Berria Belador Allroad. It is an all-carbon fibre frame constructed from the company's HM2X carbon fibre, and that also includes the tapered fork, 1.1" to 1.5". Stating the obvious, this bike has a rather interesting rear end, namely 26mm of progressive suspension. Now, some of you tech-savvy viewers are going to state, hello, we've already seen this technology on another bike brand. Yes, that is 100% true. Whether this bike is a direct copy, I cannot comment, but that point aside, the suspension, which I'll talk about later, does work pretty well. Other tech features of the Belador Allroad include the BB86 bottom brackets, and all of the cable housings are internalized inside the frame. Now, the good news is the housing for the hydraulic brakes for the front and rear enter beneath the stem, so you don't have to worry about any craziness. Extremely infuriating if you like to fly your bike or you want to piss off your mechanic. Overall, the internalisation is cleanly executed with a bare minimum of brake housing seen at the bottom of the fork and towards the non-drive side of the rear stay. Another feature of this unique frame is the seat post is dropper compatible, and that's despite using a wedge type expander clamping system, which historically have been rather infuriating to deal with. But I can report that this seat post has not slipped in any manner. And the other thing about this seat post is it's 27.2mm round. So you can run any seat post, dropper or whatever you like. There are several mounting points on the frame, including the usual bottle cages, but this bike forgoes the current trend for mounting a bottle cage beneath the down tube, which is not a big problem in my books. I call that position on the bike the cow catcher position for obvious reasons, but adorning the top tube is a bento box slash feed bag slash whatever mount you want to call it. Love that mount. So handy for stashing food, camera batteries, and whatever floats your boat. There is a 1x drivetrain currently fitted to the bike at the moment. I'll talk about that momentarily, but this bike does support 2x drivetrains. Brakes, as you would expect in 2023, are flat-mounted front and rear, and through axles are also standard equipment on this bike, 12mm by 100mm front and 12mm by 142mm at the rear. Wrapping up the cockpit parts, the handlebar and stem are supplied by Berria. And for those wondering, this review variant is a size small, which moves me on to talk about the group set on this bike. SRAM Rival E-Tap Access, fantastic group set. I have reviewed it, it's linked in the description below. Now, unfortunately, the build kit you see on this review sample with the Rival E-Tap Access and the Zip 303S wheels is not available in the United States. But there is a silver lining to that cloud because the US distributor has 3 available in this spec, in small, medium and large. And for viewers of the Gravel Cyclist YouTube channel and gravelcyclist.com, there is an exclusive discount available on just those 3 samples only at the time of this video. Ordinarily, this package will set you back US $6,500. Forget about that price. Rather, you will pay US $4,900 for this fantastic spec. I repeat, US $4,900. If you're interested, consult the video description below for the email address of the USA distribution agent. The other feature, tire clearance. This bike can handily fit 700C by 45mm tires. I have tested the bike with a couple of different wheel and tyre combinations, and I can attest, no Wakan Faris. So that wraps up the tech features of the very unique Berria Belador Allroad. Now it's time to find out how this bike rides. Weighing in at 19.4 pounds or 8.8 kilos with Zips 303S wheels, King titanium bottle cages, Shimano XTR pedals and Vittoria Terreno dry tyres in 700C by 38mm, the Belador Allroad is a decently lightweight package when you consider there is 26mm of active suspension at the rear end. Aesthetically, this bike really stands out from the crowd, with somewhat reminiscent of wheel-hugging time trial bikes from the early 90s. I really like this feature as there is plenty of clearance between the seat tube and tyre, and the frame shaping lends itself well to maintaining clearance in muddy conditions. The Belador Allroad is the first gravel bike from Berria, and it errs on the side of racier performance versus stodgy and slow handling. This is a trait I love. With that said, the rear suspension takes the edge off bigger pothole hits and the like, but is still quite stiff feeling with no sloppiness during seated or out of the saddle pedaling. The front end of the bike is no nonsense performance, borderline overly stiff, so you need to pay close attention to your tyre pressure. The Zip 303S wheels add somewhat to this feeling, but I experimented with some bird spoke GBX 22 wheels on the Belador with 700C by 43mm Gravel King tyres at mid 20 PSI, which made for a comfier ride, but without any compromises. I didn't descend any mountain passes on the bike, but at speed and on most terrain surfaces, the bike is playful in nature and feels confident. It isn't a bike I would recommend for rock garden descents or a ton of rough single track, but for most mixed surface roads, the Belador is a fast performer. You can also adjust the flip chip on the fork to help smooth things out a smidge if needed. The jury is still out on SRAM's universal derailleur hanger on this bike, which is an attempt at one standard to mount your derailleur versus a proprietary hanger. Certainly a good idea in theory. Drivetrain performance was flawless on the bike. You can check out my long-term review of SRAM Rival E-Tap Access linked in the description below. I'm uncertain of what spec may be available to you at the time of this review. The Berria spec'd flared handlebar I dislike. I admit I dislike just about every flared handlebar ever invented, barring those with a small modicum of flair. I understand the idea of better control in the drops on dodgy surfaces, but get real. Most of us aren't riding single track on a bike like this on a daily basis, and I'd rather less frontal area into a headwind on a gravel road versus sticking my wings way out with angled shifters bothering my wrists. Most of this flared nonsense is marketing rubbish anyway. Additionally, this handlebar has an annoying oversized top surface that is uncomfortable for perching one's hands. If this were my bike, I would replace this handlebar immediately. This small gripe aside, the Belador is a pretty tasty package and a solid first effort from Berria. It certainly stands out from the crowd with its overall aesthetic and is of interest to performance-oriented riders. With that said, it is polite enough to stooge along the countryside all day at parade pace, waving and taking photographs along the way. So there you go, trendsetters, my long-term review of the Berria Belador Allroad. Don't forget about that special deal I mentioned earlier in the video, where there are 3 of these bikes available, small, medium and large. Details in the description below. As always, thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the Gravel Cyclist YouTube channel for no bullshit gravel bike reviews such as this one, other product reviews, ride experience videos, and of course my personal favorite, General Madness.
500 meters at the roundabout. Take the second exit.
Haha! As all of it is released to the channel, I'll see you, won't I, baby, huh? In the next video.